Have you ever felt it? That invisible wall that goes up when you stop playing along? The subtle shift in a room when your silence says more than everyone else's chatter? Have you ever wondered why your depth seems to unsettle people? Why the more you think, the less you feel like you belong? Soren Kierkegaard, a philosopher who wrestled with these same shadows, once wrote, "People demand freedom of speech as a compensation for the freedom of thought which they seldom use. But you use it. You think. And in our world, that is precisely the problem. You see, you aren't dangerous because you're aggressive or cruel. You're dangerous because you refuse to be predictable. And in a society that confuses predictability with safety, the intelligent man becomes a threat simply by existing. Modern relationships, for the most part, are built on a fragile foundation of comfort, not truth. But the man who thinks deeply is allergic to illusion. He can't help but peel back the masks. He questions why connection often feels so transactional. He sees the subtle performance in people's eyes, that gap between what they say and what you can feel is actually true. Kierkegaard warned us, the crowd is untruth. When a man refuses to be swallowed by that crowd, when he chooses his own path of meaning and reflection, he shatters the very framework that keeps people passive and emotionally compliant. People don't fear an intelligent man because he knows a lot of facts. They fear him because they cannot contain him. He doesn't rely on cheap flattery to feel desired. He doesn't need constant validation to feel secure in himself. He refuses to be a puppet just to be chosen. He doesn't chase because he sees that most of what people call the chase is a game rooted in insecurity, not a journey toward love. And when a man like this does love, he loves with a terrifying clarity. He doesn't love for comfort, he loves for revelation. That kind of presence, sharp, discerning, and existentially honest, is incredibly rare. And what is rare is almost always rejected before it's ever respected. Kierkegaard wrote about a concept he called despair, but not the way we think of it. He called it the sickness unto death. And what is this sickness? It's the despair of not being your true self. It's the quiet agony of a man being so estranged from his own soul that he doesn't even know it. And that is what modern culture fears most in a man, that he might wake up from the performance, that he might stop being charming and start being conscious. Because a conscious man cannot be seduced by applause. He can't be manipulated by emotional chaos. A conscious man is no longer driven by the desperate need to be liked. And when a man stops needing to be liked, he becomes free. When he becomes free, he becomes dangerous. Ask yourself this: why do you so often feel misunderstood? Why do you sense that people get uneasy around your silence? It's because most people in this hyper-performative world derive their identity from being seen. But the intelligent man, he derives his identity from seeing. And the act of seeing deeply, truly seeing, makes people profoundly uncomfortable, especially when they are trying to hide from themselves. Kierkegaard said, "Life can only be understood backwards, but it must be lived forwards." The intelligent man is always living forward, but he's also watching, analyzing, understanding the hidden structures of everything: power, emotion, seduction, fear. So what happens when a man is no longer captivated by the surface? When he stops being enchanted by the games? He becomes unplayable. Not because he's cold or heartless, but because he's whole. And that wholeness is a direct threat to the entire economy of modern dating, an economy where confusion is mistaken for mystery and emotional unpredictability is confused for passion. Kierkegaard knew this intimately. He famously walked away from Regina Olsen, the only woman he ever truly loved. He didn't do it because he didn't care. He did it because he cared so much. He knew that to live an authentic life, his authentic life, meant he had to reject the role society had assigned him, even if it cost him everything he ever wanted. Men, listen to this closely. The more intelligent you become, the more you awaken to the truth of things, the more isolated you are likely to feel. That is not a sign of your failure, it is the price of your awakening. You scare people not because you are unkind, but because you are unconditioned. And a man who cannot be conditioned cannot be controlled. And that is the greatest threat there is to any system built on manipulation, including the romantic ones. Most people are not looking for love. They are looking for utility. They want you to serve a role in their life. The provider, the performer, the protector, the puppet. But the intelligent man, the conscious man, steps outside of those pre-made frames. And when he does, he becomes invisible to the very people who are still trapped inside them. Kierkegaard called this the leap of faith. Not a leap into religion necessarily, but a leap away from the security of roles, systems, and superficial expectations. It's the choice to walk alone, to love truth more than you love comfort, to choose an honest despair over a blissful lie. And that leap will cost you. It will strip you of your illusions, but it will also awaken you. Because once you truly see the mechanics of the world, you can never go back to being blind. And your intelligence, if it's rooted in genuine self-awareness and not just ego, will transform you. You will change from a man who seeks validation into a man who seeks meaning, who seeks peace, who seeks his own soul. And that is terrifying to others, and sometimes it's even terrifying to yourself, because the path that comes next is not for the faint of heart. Kierkegaard said, "To dare is to lose one's footing momentarily. Not to dare is to lose oneself." Most men have already lost themselves, not because they lack intelligence, but because they have been trained to apologize for it. You were taught to soften your words, to dim your insights, to pretend you don't see the emptiness in the room. You were told to smile when something feels fake, to laugh at shallow jokes, to stay silent when something is deeply wrong. You were taught to be agreeable in order to be accepted. But acceptance that requires the death of your essence is not acceptance, it's assimilation. And the intelligent man who refuses to assimilate becomes a threat, not just to women, but to everyone who profits from his silence. You scare them not because you are aggressive, but because you are precise. When you speak, your words have weight. When you look at someone, they feel seen, not just flattered. And being truly seen is an unbearable experience for anyone still hiding behind a mask. Most people don't actually want a deep connection. They want comfort. They want a gentle reinforcement of their own illusions. But the intelligent man is a dismantler of illusions by his very nature. And he does this most intensely in love. Because for him, love isn't a game. It's not a power play. It's not a reenactment of unmet childhood needs. For the intelligent man, love is a path to truth. And the truth doesn't always feel good. It just feels real. This is why you feel the resistance. This is why you're met with confusion, defensiveness, and sometimes even hostility. Your very presence is a threat to the social system that rewards performance. You don't beg for attention. You don't chase for validation. You don't exhaust yourself explaining your soul 10 times just to be heard. You have the strength to walk away, not out of anger, but because your integrity refuses to be auctioned off to the highest bidder of convenience.
And that is exactly what has happened to so many men. A quiet disappearance. Not a loud, dramatic death, but a spiritual one. Men have lost themselves trying to be palatable, trying to be charming, trying to be whatever the room wanted them to be, until one day they look in the mirror and a stranger looks back. But the intelligent man cannot pretend for long. The tension of the performance builds inside him until it becomes unbearable. He starts to notice that what others call confidence is often just thinly veiled arrogance, that what they call love is often just codependency, that what they call chemistry is often just two people's trauma speaking its native language. He starts to see, and once you see, you suffer. That is the price of awareness. You suffer because you no longer fit into the neat little boxes. You suffer because your honest questions ruin the party, because your clarity offends other people's comfort, because your need for truth repels those who are addicted to the performance. And this is where you face the great Kierkegaardian choice. You either betray yourself to be accepted by the world, or you betray the world to remain true to yourself. Most men take the first path. It's easier. It's praised. But it is a slow, quiet death of the soul. The intelligent man, if he is brave enough, chooses the second. And in that choice, he finally begins to live. Not comfortably, not safely, but honestly. And this honesty bleeds into everything he does. How he speaks, how he works, how he loves, and how he walks away. And the world punishes that kind of man, because a man who cannot be seduced by the crowd becomes a living mirror to everyone who is still trapped within it. Let's talk about relationships. Why does an intelligent man so often create a sense of unease? It's not because he doesn't care, it's because he cares differently. He doesn't chase, he observes. He doesn't flatter, he listens. He doesn't respond to every emotional flare-up like a trained animal. He chooses his reactions with a surgeon's precision, if he chooses to react at all. This makes him mysterious, and mystery is terrifying to people who need constant emotional reinforcement to feel secure. The intelligent man isn't absent, he's selectively present. And this selectivity can feel like rejection to those who are used to being worshipped without effort. But he doesn't worship illusions, he discerns truth. Because intelligence, when it's combined with emotional clarity, becomes a kind of spiritual X-ray. You see through the smiles, through the games, through the flattery. And that kind of sight unnerves anyone who is still hiding. Kierkegaard spoke of the individual's ultimate responsibility to become a self, not a social role, not a performer, not a mirror of other people's expectations, but a true self. And becoming a self requires silence, stillness, reflection, and solitude. 4 things modern culture is absolutely allergic to. Because a man who sits in silence for too long might stop consuming. He might stop conforming. He might stop apologizing for who he is. And most terrifyingly of all, he might stop chasing what was never worthy of him in the first place. You want to terrify people? Walk into a room and don't immediately seek attention. Just observe. Don't over-explain yourself. Speak with precision. Set a boundary without raising your voice. Be kind without being compliant. Be romantic without being dependent. Just watch what happens. Watch how the energy in the room shifts. Watch how people begin to adjust themselves in your presence. Because on a deep, primal level, everyone can sense when a man is rooted in his own being, and most of them have no idea what to do with him, especially when he's not performing.
Kierkegaard wrote, "Once you label me, you negate me. The intelligent man is difficult to label. Is he cold? No, he's composed. Is he arrogant? No, he has self-respect. Is he aloof? No, he's discerning. But labels are easier than reflection. So the world will try to reduce you to a simple word, anything to make your clarity feel less threatening. Don't let it shake you. Let it sharpen you. Let it deepen your solitude and fortify your path. You were not built to be palatable. You were not designed to be everyone's comfort zone. You were made to become a man in the Kierkegaardian sense, aware, faithful to your own truth, and willing to walk into the storm alone if that's what it takes to keep your soul intact. Kierkegaard warned us, the crowd is untruth. And yet, where do most men look for validation? The crowd. They measure their worth by the number of likes, the smiles they can generate, the applause they receive. But that applause is a cage. It teaches you to shape yourself into whatever pleases others, not what is real within you. And here is the truth you were never told. The more intelligent and conscious you become, the less applause you will receive. Because you are no longer playing for the crowd. You are playing for your soul. And most people don't clap for that. They stare, they question, they shrink away. In a culture built on noise, your silence is disturbing. In a world of constant stimulation, your stillness is unsettling. In an age of 24/7 availability, your refusal to be emotionally summoned on command feels like an act of rebellion. And it is. It is the rebellion of a man who has reclaimed his mind, his heart, and his attention. The intelligent man doesn't explain himself to those who are committed to misunderstanding him. He walks alone, not because he's antisocial, but because he knows most paths just lead back to the noise, and he is searching for the signal of truth. The more rooted you become in yourself, the more people will try to shake you, not because you are wrong, but because you are a living reminder of the depth they abandoned in themselves. In love, this becomes even more profound. The intelligent man doesn't romanticize chaos. He isn't drawn to excitement. He is drawn to alignment. He wants peace, not performance. And when he speaks of love, he speaks of something sacred, not something hormonal. That kind of steady, unwavering presence can be terrifying to someone who has only ever known love as drama. It can feel cold, but it isn't. It's just steady. And steadiness is a foreign language to a soul addicted to the highs and lows of emotional instability. But you must not shrink. You must not soften your clarity to be more acceptable. Your role is not to fit into the world's confusion. Your role is to remain an anchor in your own truth. Kierkegaard lived that solitude. He was mocked and misunderstood. He walked away from the love of his life, not because he didn't feel, but because he knew his life's mission required a different path. That's your challenge now. Will you keep playing roles for comfort, or will you finally become the man you were meant to be, even if it means being feared, rejected, or alone? The intelligent man doesn't seek to be liked. He seeks to be aligned. And when you are truly aligned, the right people will recognize you, not because you impressed them, but because your silence echoed something true they had forgotten within themselves. Kierkegaard understood something few ever grasp. The price of true freedom is everything that once made you feel safe and accepted. He wrote, Anxiety is the dizziness of freedom, because once a man stops outsourcing his identity, once he no longer needs permission to be himself, he is hit with the terrifying realization that there is no map. No one is coming to tell him he's on the right track. There is only him, his truth, and the abyss of infinite possibility. That is why you scare the world. You are willing to walk into that abyss with your eyes open. You don't numb yourself with endless entertainment. You don't flood your schedule to avoid silence. You sit in it. You endure the unease. You make a home in the questions most men spend their lives running from. Who am I without my job? Without external validation? Without someone clinging to me for their stability? When you meet someone, you don't seek to possess them or fix them. You seek to see them. And that kind of seeing pierces through vanity and performance. It demands a truth that most people fear because it doesn't flatter. A man grounded in that truth cannot be swayed by charm or broken by rejection. He is simply whole. And in a fragmented world, wholeness is the ultimate threat because it cannot be manipulated, seduced, or purchased.
Kierkegaard spoke of the knight of faith. This is a man who lives inwardly before he lives outwardly. He doesn't depend on logic alone or emotion alone, but on a deeper calling that he cannot explain to the masses. The knight of faith walks the earth, but he is unnoticed by most. He isn't loud, he isn't decorated with titles, but inside him burns a quiet light that cannot be dimmed by trends or by loneliness. That is the man you are becoming. It's not an easy path. You will lose people. You will face long nights where the silence screams, but you will also feel something new, a deep, resonant peace that comes not from being liked, but from being right with yourself. So no, you are not too quiet, you are not too deep, you are not too intense, you are becoming whole. And what you are becoming is the very thing the world is both desperate for and terrified of. A man who cannot be moved by lies, not even the ones he used to tell himself. The pain you feel from the loneliness is sacred. It is your proving ground. Because once you learn to walk alone, to love without losing yourself, to be silent without apology, you become truly untouchable. You stop looking for someone to fill your silence and start seeking someone who respects it. You stop performing for a paycheck and start building a life that reflects your soul. And this alignment makes you rare, not because you're better than anyone, but because you dared to face what most men run from, the unbearable light of their own potential. You've learned that peace is found not in the presence of others, but in the absence of self-betrayal. And perhaps the person worthy of your depth will come. And perhaps they won't. But either way, you will not wait in desperation. You will walk your path, whole either way. If you are misunderstood, good. If you are feared, good. If you are called distant, good. It means you've stopped being easily digestible. It means you've started to matter. At the end of the day, the world doesn't need more nice guys or more puppets. It needs men who are so rooted in their truth that nothing, not even the promise of love, can make them abandon it. And if you are that man, or becoming that man, know this: you will not be for everyone, but you will be unforgettable to the few who truly see you. Most importantly,
you will finally respect the man you see in the mirror. If this message spoke to your soul, let's continue the conversation. Like this video, share it with someone who needs to hear it, and subscribe for more truths that challenge the modern world. Your mind matters. Let's use it